There's no hot button issue hotter than rent control. Even the most courageous politician quakes at the idea of opposing it. For starters, no one likes landlords. Second, those who benefit from rent control, and there are a lot of them, vote. And it has huge emotional appeal. Imagine this 6 o'clock news story. A reporter interviews a senior citizen, describing how she'll have to vacate her small apartment, her home for 25 years, if her rent control isn't maintained. What politician wants to go up against that? These are just a few of the reasons why, once a city adopts rent control, it's almost impossible to dislodge it. But does rent control work? Does it lower or raise housing costs? And does it increase the building of more affordable housing? It might surprise you to know that nearly all economists, on the right and the left, from the late Milton Friedman to Paul Krugman, agree that the answer is no. In a survey of 464 economists in the May 1992 issue of American Economic Review, 93% said that a ceiling on rents reduces the quantity and quality of housing available. Why the unanimity? Because it's an accepted economic principle that government-imposed price controls, and that's what rent control is, always lead to price distortions, in this case rents. This applies everywhere.
So there you go about rent control. Now, there's also tariffs and quotas that the government can establish to try to protect certain domestic industries within the United States. The purpose of that is to try to help a struggling industry by making global competitors that are coming into the United States more expensive through some type of taxation. And that helps the local producer. Now the problem with that is that it's going to hurt the consumers of that good because they're going to have to pay higher prices because there's less competition, and a business that's maybe not as good as one from outside the country isn't going to do things as cheap and is going to have to charge higher prices. And an example of this is with the sugar industry, and there's a lot of quotas in the sugar industry, and you can see that from this chart, the U.S. sugar prices are a lot more expensive than sugar around the world because of this type of protection that we have in our country. Almost double as expensive in the United States for sugar as it is around the rest of the world because of these quotas that exist. Now you could also think of the effects of the minimum wage. If you increase the minimum wage, you could make things more expensive. It might have unintended consequences or long-term effects that you weren't intending when you raise the minimum wage. We've talked before how people respond to incentives. Well, there was a paying for pencil stubs in the second grade class story where the intended purpose was to give students an incentive to hold on to their pencils. And what ended up happening was the students figured out quickly that they had an incentive to sharpen their pencils down to the stubs to get the 10-cent incentive that they were given to hold on to their pencil. So an unintended consequence of a policy meant to try to do something good. Now, on a national scale, we have a lot of debt in our country, trillions of dollars of debt, and that is something that we don't think about the long-term consequences when we're making these policies, when we have Social Security and when we have welfare programs and when we have the defense spending that we have and healthcare spending that we have, and we're not so focused on the long-term consequences of those choices to have those policies because they don't make a lot of sense long-term.
What can I do for you today?
I would like to raise my debt limit.
Excuse me?
My debt limit, I'd like to raise it.
Because the last time I checked, Mr. Smith, you were in serious debt.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Figure we should raise that limit.
Yeah, it says here you're $140,270 in debt.
Right, so I figured we should raise that limit to about $170,000. I just bought a 60-inch flat screen. Have you ever been to Australia?
No.
Leaving tomorrow, mate. You should check it out. Great parasailing.
Do you have some new income that I don't know about?
No, still making about 21 grand a year.
Okay, and are you still spending $38,000 a year?
That's what it says.
So you're adding $17,000 a year in debt.
Oh, is that what it comes out to? Debt limit going up. Ding.
Have you made any cuts in your expenses?
Oh, of course, yes. My wife and I cut $380 out of our annual budget. It's $380. Brutal.
Okay, so you're adding, okay, so you're adding $17,000 a year to your $140,000 in debt, and you cut $380.
When you say it like that, it makes it not sound like a lot.
Hey, maybe you should think about generating some new income. Maybe a new job. Maybe ask for that raise.
Oh, asking for that raise, I'm not comfortable. That's an awkward conversation. I've always been able to raise my debt limit.
Yeah, well, this is a little different.
Well, how?
We're in the middle of a recession, and your credit rating will plummet if you continue to go along this path.
I almost had it.
You don't see how bad this is, do you?
I cut my budget by $380. Are you kidding?
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. We can't help you.
You're just a little like.
I'm very sorry.
My wife is going to lose it.
Been there.
I mean, $380 was bad enough. I mean, this is going to end our marriage. We stopped talking to each other for a month. The baby was totally freaked out.
Wait, you have kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sign there.
All right. Our kid's a blessing. I mean, she's got plenty of time to deal with all this, right?
Absolutely.
Are we all set?
You're all set.
All right. Let's go, kiddo. We got to meet Mommy at the car store. Here you go. I think this is yours.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Thanks.
Hey.
So that was showing the debt limit compared to a normal household and how ridiculous some of the things are that we don't think about the long-term consequences of. A lot of times people don't think about the long-term consequences when they're making basic purchases like furniture from our van, so to speak.
I'm Shannon Murphy for the Clearance Center at Art Van. See this bedroom set? Is it gorgeous or what? You'll find it right here in the Clearance Center at Art Van, which means it won't be here long. Somebody's gonna get a steal. During our grand opening, choose from 4 complete bedroom sets, your choice queen or king, just $997. For the first time ever, get financing for 12 months, plus we'll pay your sales tax. The Clearance Center at Art Van. Find what you love at a price you'll love even more.
So people want the furniture now. They don't want to wait for it. They don't want to save for it. So they sign up for the credit card through Art Van and get it, no interest, no payments for 12 months. Well, what happens is, as you can see here, the interest rate, 29.99%, is what you're getting for it. The problem with that is if you don't pay the whole thing off by the end of the 12 months, you're going to have to pay interest for a 12-month period. So if you still owe a couple $100, well, it's going to go back to a 12 months as if you had paid no interest. And that's where it gets really expensive on these credit cards. So you have to be very careful on these long-term consequences when you're making a decision.